Okay, well, I think we can get started, Rob. Thank you
Right.
so much, everyone, for joining. Our webinar today will be about owning originality, how to empower students with Turnitin and Microsoft Teams. My name is Betty, and I will be your host today. I am a product marketing manager here at Turnitin, and I'm super excited to introduce our guest speaker, Rob Barugh, who is the Director of Learning Technologies at Hale School in Perth, Australia.
Hi,
Before,
Betty, for having me. Hello to everybody.
before we get started, I just want to go over really quickly a couple of housekeeping items. All lines are muted, so it'd be great if you have any questions, comments, you can just use the Zoom webinar Q&A chat box. You can send in your questions and comments at any time, and we'll try our best to either respond to the question live or through the Q&A chat box. This webinar is recorded, so we will be sending out the recording afterwards. So in terms of what we're going to cover today, first we're going to introduce Hale School. Then we're going to talk about their need for Turnitin and Microsoft Teams. Rob will do a demo of the integration and talk about the impact that Turnitin and the Teams integration has had on Hale School. Then we're going to wrap up by talking about how you can sign up for the integration, and then some Q&A. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Rob.
Okay, thanks, Betty. I'll just get my screen share up. That's the one. Okay, has that come up for you, Betty? Okay. Yeah, thanks again for the invitation to share this journey, I guess, with everybody. Betty has asked that I give a bit of a context to who Hale School is and our students. So I'll start off with a little bit of background. Hale School is in Perth, Western Australia, on the west coast, and is actually the first school, part of the original Perth colony back in 1858. We're actually an all-boys school from pre-primary to year 12, so the boys' ages are sort of 5 years old all the way through to 18. I myself have been here 20 years. I'm a biology teacher, and I've been looking after the use of technology in the curriculum for all that time. And a big part of that has been Microsoft and Turnitin. So the first thing to share with you, but I can't advance my slide. Let's just have a look. There we go. So just our use of Turnitin, sort of going on for over a decade now, where we've been using their premium product, the Turnitin Feedback Studio. And initially that came about because our students were graduating from Hale School and moving on to university, where they were using that product, Turnitin. So all the large universities in Western Australia use that product. So we wanted to familiarise them with that workflow and to start to introduce the boys to plagiarism. So making the students take ownership of their assessment pieces and making sure there's a lot of original thought and work going into those, and just aligning with the school's core value of integrity. So the use of Turnitin over that decade has been very strong. There's obviously some learning areas that use it more than others, but currently we have English, the humanities, history and geography. We've got science classes, even physical education studies. There's quite a range of subject areas that are using Turnitin. The use differs depending on the age of the student. So this will seem fairly obvious, but the middle school students in that 12 to 14 age bracket, the use is a lot more of sort of formative learning around what constitutes plagiarism, how to properly do inline citations or block citations, how to follow the APA style of referencing. So lots of learning going on in those middle school years, and the originality reports that are produced by Turnitin are used in conjunction with that learning. And then in the senior school, when the boys are sort of in that older age bracket, the stakes are higher, and it's the way that the Turnitin product is used is more for accountability and making sure that the students are handing in their own work. So the other sort of important thing to share with you is our association with Microsoft. So that's been a long and strong relationship. And so we have a particular status because of our use of Microsoft products and the way that we assist other schools. So we're a Microsoft Showcase school, and our teachers and our students work in this Office 365 ecosystem every day. So also hand in hand with the Microsoft operating systems and software is their hardware. So we've also been using Surface products for a long time. And in that capacity, we're a Surface Lighthouse school and are used to showcase those products. So this brings us to the Office 365 environment. We've been using this for a number of years, and quite a lot of reliance on the Office 365 suite of solutions. So we do not have a learning management system, and that is done deliberately. So products like Schoolbox and Blackboard and Canvas, there's many learning management systems out there. And for our particular context, we have decided not to use an LMS. And instead, we make a lot of use of the Office solutions, mainly OneNote and Teams, which I'll go into in a little bit more detail soon. This provides our teachers with a lot of flexibility over their teaching, and we believe it means that they don't have to be channeled down a particular delivery system. They have a range of options available to them rather than just a single LMS. So key to using the Office 365 solution is the way that it integrates with our school information system. We use a product called Synergetic as our SIS, and there's a very important piece that's been put together, which is the Microsoft School Data Sync. And this automatically synchronizes with the school information system, pulling information about teachers and students and classes, and populates the team sites at the beginning of each semester. So this is really important to how everything works so seamlessly. So credit to our technical officers in the IT department that have liaised closely with Microsoft support and have the data sync in place. And there's another little add-on to that, which is the profile photos that we have on file of all the staff and students, and being able to automatically pull them into the Azure Active Directory and the user profiles. So you can see the image down the right-hand side is a bit of a screen clipping from a team site, and just the personalization of the student name with the profile photo is just a nice little add-on. So this sort of leads into Teams, and it's probably worth me quickly just going over what Teams is, how it's used by our teachers, before I dive into the integration with Turnitin. So Microsoft would describe this as a digital hub, and we have a team site for every class, so 900 or so classes that run every year. So this is the domain of one teacher and 20 or so boys in our context, and they will each have a team site. If they choose to use it, it's not mandatory, but it's a growing area of use. So each digital hub or team site will have a section called posts. And this is a threaded discussion area. So there can be chat between the students and the teacher. There's another area called files, obviously for just a document library for files and for sharing. There is the ability to create a OneNote class notebook, and there is an assignment section. So this is for the to and fro between student and teacher of assignments, so that feedback can be provided and marks. And this is one of the areas that I'm going to dive into in a little bit more detail, and it's where the Turnitin integration piece lives. And this is a very dynamic digital hub, the team site. So there's a whole raft of additional features that you can add into this little ecosystem. Okay, so I'll concentrate now for a little bit on the assignments tab. If I need to create an assignment for my students, this is sort of the process that you go through and the type of form that you fill in. So this is for my Year 8 science class. The title of that assignment was States of Matter assignment, and I'm looking for a sort of 500-word essay. And you just fill in the fields. But the bit that I really want to draw your attention to is this little section down the very bottom. So once we had the integration piece in place, which is incredibly straightforward, it's just a couple of fields that need to be filled in the administration back end of Office 365. This suddenly becomes available for all team sites, and when the teacher creates an assignment, there's a simple toggle button to enact whether you want originality checking to occur. So incredibly easy for the teacher, knowing that these team sites have a automatically controlled and synced membership of students. So that's something they don't have to ever worry about. That will be accurate and reflect what's in our school information system database. So the membership of this site is synced, and the ability just to tick that box, knowing that all students will be checked against the online websites and periodicals and journals and other student submissions to Turnitin. So what then will happen is I will see this summary, and obviously the students at this stage have not had an opportunity to submit their work. But over time, the papers will start coming in, and the format which they can be submitted is varies greatly, but the obvious ones would be Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, PDF, lots of different file formats that are acceptable. The student will see a summary like this, and I just want to point out that they will be alerted to the fact that the submission is going to be checked by Turnitin. So they know ahead of schedule that that's going to be the case. And now we'll actually dive into a submission from a student. So this set of assignments that was submitted to me were obviously PowerPoint submissions. And you can see in the top right-hand corner, this submission belongs to Reese Havercroft. And I've got a couple of scroll options there, left and right, and I can move my way through all of the student submissions. Below that, I can see that there's a little text box where I can provide feedback to the student and also marks, and then ultimately return the student work. But I'm going to focus in on this section because I've noticed for this particular student, for Reese, that he's got a very high similarity report that's come back, sitting at 40%. So that's something that immediately jumps out to me as a teacher, and I need to go investigate why that similarity report is so high. It is suggestive that there is plagiarism. So I'll click on that and I'll dive into the Turnitin Web Interface now. So I've come out of Teams and it's automatically taken me to the Turnitin Web Interface here. And I've got a nice little summary down the right-hand side of where this 40% of similarity is attributable to various websites. I'm going to dive into the top one, which is Wikipedia, but I'll just draw your attention to the fifth item there, which is the one in green. That's actually suggesting that there's a 3% similarity with a paper that was submitted by another student from Hale School. So I just thought I'd highlight that while I had the chance. So I'm going to click on Wikipedia and dive into that particular point. So what I'm seeing on the right-hand side is the exact text from the Wikipedia website that is attributable to the text in the student submission. So this is a glaringly obvious copy-paste from the website into the PowerPoint slide. I want to highlight just a few other things. So I'm going to go back to this original slide and just point out the cogwheel in this top right-hand corner. So this is really useful for being able to refine the similarity report. So when I go in here, I can make a whole bunch of exclusions from the report. And the ones down the bottom are the ones I'm mostly interested in. So these ones down the bottom enable me to tailor the report to exclude things like bibliography, quotes, and small matches. So this is just showing you on the left-hand side that in the list of references, the ones that are shown in color are going to be matches with the internet. So that is a very common thing. So I can just tick that box and immediately that color matches disappears, and my 40% similarity report has probably now dropped to say 35%. And I can do that similar to quotes and small matches. So that's quite nice for tailoring the report. It's probably worth mentioning just now that for a teacher, looking at a similarity report is a very subjective process that they need to go through. We spend a bit of time explaining to our teachers that it's not a black and white exercise. There's no magic percent that constitutes plagiarism. The teacher needs to dive in and see to what extent copying has occurred. But obviously the power of the solution allows you to do that. And it's incredibly easy for our teachers to view, tailor, and make form their actions based on what they're seeing. Yes, that's a little rundown on the experience that our teachers and students have when they're using the Turnitin integration piece in Teams. Thanks, Betty.
Sure. Thanks so much for sharing, Rob. Just a quick note, if you guys are interested in signing up for the integration, all you have to do is just go to go.turnitin.com/Microsoft Teams. And then it's a landing page summarizing what the integration is. And then at the bottom, there is a sign up form. So you can feel free to sign up for it. A Turnitin license is required in order to use the integration. So don't worry, if you don't have a license, you can certainly go ahead and purchase one, and we'd be happy to help you out. So it's fairly simple. After you fill out the form, then we will contact you. And so one question, Rob, it'd be great if you can talk a little bit about what the setup process has been like. Just a quick overview about what that experience was like.
Yeah, that's just involved, making that initial contact like you've just described, and it's literally a two-step process to get the activation codes and to copy and paste them into the administrative back end of Office 365, and then it's done. So it's an incredibly easy integration to do. The one that's more involved is setting up school data sync, but again, that's something that Microsoft has helped hundreds of schools with. So that's integrated with their school information system. But again, there's lots of help out there for that. But the Turnitin integration is incredibly simple, just a literally copy paste type activity.
Yep. So it is very simple, guys. You don't need to add any users or anything like that. All the information is automatically synced from Microsoft Teams. So it is a fairly straightforward process.
Yeah. So,
okay.
and that makes the life of our teachers when they're setting up these assignments incredibly easy and quick. So that's the huge advantage that we've seen is teachers just being able to use that toggle button now at the bottom of the assignments tab in Teams. So our adoption now is growing rapidly because it's been made so much more simpler for the teachers.
And so when you say adoption has been growing, you mean usage of Turnitin you've seen it increase?
Yeah. In subject areas that might not traditionally have been using it to a high degree, I think it'll just become the norm now for nearly all assignment submissions to have that toggle switch ticked and be going through Turnitin as in addition to Teams. Yeah, so it's becoming very normalized.
That's great to hear. Awesome. So I think now we're going into the Q&A portion of the webinar. I do have a question already. So there's one question about how can students access their similarity report? Can you talk through that a little bit more, Rob?
Yeah, so they initially go through Teams and through assignments, and there they will see a link to their similarity report very much in the same way that the teacher sees that. Yeah.
And
yeah,
student.
and it's probably also worth me saying that for our younger students, we'll often get them to submit more than once so that they can submit the first time, understand that they've got similarity matches, correct themselves and submit a subsequent time. So that's all sort of visible to them. So that's an important formative learning sort of steps that they go through when they're younger.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, one of the things that we've seen with the Teams integration is that it's very easy for students to be able to submit something, then be able to look at their similarity report, make any sort of edits that they need to based off of what they've seen, and then submit again. So it is it's a fairly accessible experience, and the teachers know that with Turnitin, like that will happen on default, that students will be able to access their similarity report prior to the final deadline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Another question that came up is, can you also share about, what impact or any, benefits that admins have been able to experience due to the Teams integration? You did talk a lot about teachers and students. What about the admins?
Yeah, I think the teachers themselves need a lot less support once this is all in place, and so they become self-sufficient, and so there's no reliance on technical support. And as I say, the synchronizing of all of the student lists are really important, so everybody knows that they're going to be up to date and the audiences are going to be correct. Yeah, so I think it's a bit of a set and forget. So our technical administrative team haven't had to be involved in the day-to-day use of Teams and Turnitin now that it's all set up. So yeah, it all becomes a lot more simple.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, did you guys have to do any sort of training you know,
Well, it
in
has
terms.
gone hand in hand with Microsoft Teams training. So it's now just part of that. That is becoming more normalized, just like our use of OneNote is. So just part of that professional learning that we do with all the teachers, we've just included the reference to Turnitin. Yeah. Yep.
Great. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that it's easy to roll out and doesn't require too much hand-holding.
No, and that's what teachers are looking for. Teachers are looking for low admin, ease of use, so they can just get on with their, you know, their busy lives of teaching, you know. So yeah, that's great. It's an obvious win for everyone there.
There was also a question from one of the attendees. They noted that, or they're asking, you know, why does the similarity report that, you know, that was shown look slightly different than what's currently available in Turnitin Feedback Studio? And I'm happy to take that question. Current users of Feedback Studio, you guys might notice that the similarity report does look a little bit different. And the reason why that is because our Teams integration, which is a brand new integration, is built on our new platform. And as part of that, it features an updated, you can say, similarity report, which has, you know, some changes in terms of the user interface, but it is the exact same similarity checking capabilities that you guys are familiar with. You know, it still checks against our global student papers database, our internet database, as well as our academic journals. So it is the same service that you're used to. It just looks a little bit different, but in terms of core functionality, it's exactly the same. So.
Yeah, and I might just add, Betty, that actually created a question for me when I originally did the integration, which was, do I need to populate this with 1,000+ students? Because I recognized that it was a different website, a different interface. So, and I quickly realized and was told that no, it's actually, it is aware of my my users from the Turnitin Feedback Studio, and that's all hands off, and I didn't need to do anything.
Yes, that's another great benefit of the integration, is that all of the student as well as teacher accounts are automatically synced from Teams. So there's no need for admins to manually add any students or add any teachers. So
yeah, that's great.
Yes, yeah. Just makes life easier. Okay, well, I don't think we have any other questions. I just want to say thank you so much, Rob, for taking the time to share your experience with the integration. And I also want to thank you, everyone, for joining.
Absolute pleasure. Lovely chatting to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.